What's going on? It's your girl Kyra here, interpreter of African American history and culture, motivational and spiritual speaker. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am coming with you all with a video today that I think is very darn special, if I must say so myself. It's a video that is going to be talking about some of the best women that we ever know of that made a stand for what was right and what was just. So this video is called The 10 Fine Women of the Civil Rights Movement. These were some badass felines, females right here. Now, this is not the only list of the people who I felt made a deep impact on the civil rights movement then and still has a lasting legacy to this day. I will be making more videos talking about different people who deeply impacted the civil rights movement. Now, we're gonna jump right into it right now, but if you would, please just like and subscribe to this video right now down below. And then if you like this video at the end, please share this video. Again, thank you all so much. Now, coming in at number 10, this lady right here, her name is Miss DIANE Nash. DIANE Nash. Oh my gosh, y'all. DIANE Nash. DIANE Nash was a young lady who was attending Fisk University, and this is during the 1960s. And what she did was lead a student walkout from the school to confront the mayor there of the city of Nashville about desegregating the lunch counters, basically saying having separate facilities. Is it right to deny someone a meal just based off their skin color? Successfully, they were able to desegregate the lunch counters there in Nashville, and it was the first to do so. So big shout out to Miss DIANE Nash, coming in at number 10. Now, coming in at number 9 is the ever so great Miss Mary McLeod Bethune. Y'all, Miss Mary McLeod Bethune was a phenomenal educator. Miss Mary McLeod Bethune, realizing that they were not focused on educating young black children in the state of Florida, what she decided to do was start the first black school for girls in the state of Florida. And y'all, she was so bad at what she did, she even got an HBCU named after her today. It's called Bethune-Cookman University. You understand that? Okay. So that is number 9, Miss Mary McLeod Bethune. Number 9, Miss Mary McLeod Bethune. All right, now coming in at number 8 is Miss Sojourner Truth. If you all don't know about Miss Sojourner Truth, she was an abolitionist, she was a feminist, and most importantly, y'all, she didn't give a dang who you were. She was gonna say what needed to be said. And one question that she had for America, and just for men in general, was about the stance of black womanhood. In fact, she had a famous speech written entitled, "Ain't I a Woman?" A little bit of it I love. She said, where there's children, where there's so much racket, there must be something out of kilter. I think twixt the white women of the North and the blacks of the South all talking about rights. And that's just a little bit snippet of her speech, but it's really good. You all should check it out. It's called Ain't I a Woman? Now, coming in at number 7, is Mrs. Coretta Scott King. Now, everyone knows Mrs. Coretta Scott King. If you don't know her, then you should be real ashamed of yourself. Mrs. Coretta Scott King is the widow. She was the widow of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. after he was assassinated on April 4th, 1968, outside of room 306 at the Lorraine Motel. Mrs. Coretta Scott King was a confidant to her husband. She was active in the movement as well. She marched along her husband's side there in Selma. She was also there every time that things were needed to be helped in the movement. She was there as a caretaker for their children, and not to mention as well, she continued his legacy after he was gone, left to raise those 4 babies by herself. So we want to give a big shout out to Mrs. Coretta Scott King, coming in at number 7. May they all rest in peace. All right, now coming in at number 6. Number 6 is Miss Betty Shabazz. Now, Betty Shabazz was the widow of the late great minister Malcolm X. Now, y'all know how I feel about Malcolm. Now, if you all don't know who he is, again, I'm not even gonna get on y'all case. Just go look him up, okay? Minister Malcolm X, his wife, Betty Shabazz, okay? They were members of the Nation of Islam. After some disagreements there and some things he later found out about the nation, he split from the nation. But I want you all to understand something. Even after Minister Malcolm X had been assassinated, His dear wife, Betty SHABAZZ, continued his legacy as well. Now, you have to understand something. She was left to raise, okay? Continue raising her 6 girls. Notice I said 6. At the time when he was assassinated, she was pregnant with twins. Wow. 6 girls is what he had, and she was left to raise all of those girls on her own. She continued his legacy. She continued to be a devoted person of faith, and she later went on to become a great educator and also a professor in teaching at a college. So you all, we want to keep also in our memory Mrs. Betty SHABAZZ, all right, coming in at number 6. All right, now, coming in at number 5. Number 5 is the lovely, I can't say enough about this lady. Her name is Mrs. MYRLIE Evers. The ever so lovely Miss MYRLIE Evers. Y'all, Miss MYRLIE Evers is, of course, the widow of the late, great Mr. Medgar Evers. Now, she did go on to remarry, so that's why her name is Miss MYRLIE Evers-Williams, okay? But I believe her husband also has passed at this time. And you know, a lot of people don't know that she and her husband were very active in the Mississippi Civil Rights Movement. You all have to understand something. The Mississippi Civil Rights Movement was a movement unlike any other state in the country, okay? Ms. MYRLIE Evers and her husband worked tirelessly trying to desegregate lunch counters, trying to do things for schools, getting better education and stuff for our Black children here in the city. They were trying to increase voter registration. And also her husband was a help in trying to find witnesses in the Emmett Till murder, and in that case. And Ms. MYRLIE Evers went on to continue her husband's legacy, not accepting the fact that her husband's killer was not going to be brought to justice. She kept his case and his memory alive for like 30 years. And finally, in 1994, that man was convicted. So we want to say thank you to Miss MYRLIE Evers. She's still alive and she's still kicking a day, and I love that lady to death, y'all, all right? Miss MYRLIE Evers at number 5. All right, now coming in at number 4. Number 4 is going to be Miss Claudette Colvin. You know, a lot of people right now are scratching their heads and saying, who in the hell is that? Well, I'm gonna let you know who that is. Claudette Colvin is the first Black young woman to refuse to give up her seat on the bus there in Montgomery, Alabama, okay? Claudette Colvin was the first one to do this before Miss Rosa Parks. And she was only 15 years old at the time. Y'all, this young teenage girl took the bravery in her heart and the refusal to continue to be treated less than human and to be treated less than an American citizen. And on that day, she decided to refuse to give up her seat on the bus. And then a few months later came Miss Rosa Parks, all right? So, ladies and gentlemen, let's remember the first one to do this and really give us a jump start with the Montgomery bus boycott. It has to be Miss Claudette Colvin. All right, now coming in at number 3. Number 3 is Miss Ella Baker. Y'all, Ella Baker didn't play no games. I mean, Ella Baker was a force to be reckoned with. She had been working with the SCLC. She was very active in the Mississippi movement. But one of the biggest things that she did do was help to orchestrate and organize the youth group known as SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Ms. Ella Baker encouraged young people to gather themselves and continue their community as a youth organization and a youth group to promote change in the civil rights movement and in the South for young Black people, young and old, it didn't matter. But this was a group who was determined to elevate Black people, to get them the rights and the things that they so deserve. So we want to give a big shout out to Miss Ella Baker. All right, now coming in at number 2. Number 2 is going to be Miss Harriet Tubman. Now, if anybody really pays attention to my channel or to my Facebook, my social media, you all know how much I love Miss Harriet Tubman. A lot of you all saw that movie Harriet that just came out, but y'all, it's so much I can say about this lady. Harriet Tubman set herself free from slavery, traveled by herself over 100-something miles just to escape to freedom. She was an Underground Railroad conductor, leading more than 300 people to freedom in the North through the Underground Railroad. She was a spy during the Civil War. She was also a nurse. She was the only female still to this day to leave an army regiment. And not to mention as well, ladies and gentlemen, that she was a very spiritual and religious person. It's something about that spiritual connection, I don't know, that I feel so tied to her. But she believed in God to carry her through, and she didn't play no games, y'all. If you were thinking about turning around, she had a saying for you. You're either gonna be free or die. Your choice. But coming in at number 2 again, y'all, Miss Harriet Tubman. All right, now coming in at number 1, anybody that knows me, drum roll please. Coming in at number 1 is going to be the ever so famous Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer. Fannie Lou Hamer, y'all. Love that lady to death. And it's not just because I'm from Mississippi. Fannie Lou Hamer was a sharecropper on the same plantation for about 18 years. And not to mention the fact that after she attempted to go and register to vote, that she would soon be booted off that same plantation. Now she had a choice whether she stopped being active in the movement and continue living in her home, or she was going to continue to be active in the movement and have to leave her children and her husband. Guess what? She made the decision to answer the calling that God had placed on her life. Now Fannie Lou Hamer, after attempting to register to vote, y'all, was beaten badly in jail. She suffered a limb for the rest of her life, permanent kidney damage, and not to mention, ladies and gentlemen, she had a blood clot in her eye. Fannie Lou Hamer, after being beaten, could have sat back and said, you know what, this is too much working in this movement here in Mississippi. She received numerous death threats. One of the homes she was staying in had been shot at. And not to mention, ladies and gentlemen, a couple years later, after all this had taken place, there was a Democratic National Convention that was going to be held up in Atlantic City, New Jersey in 1964. Now, the Mississippi delegation, they were made up only of white people. So, the black people there in Mississippi formed the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. The MFDP traveled to Atlantic City, New Jersey to try to get some of their delegates seated there. But guess what? They weren't having it. But they had people to testify from the MFDP about the obstruction that was going on in Mississippi. Miss Fannie Lou Hamer sat down in that seat, and she stood proud. Now, I want to give you all a quick hint, a quick clue here. What she was about to do was about to be absolutely crazy to some people, but I say it was courageous. At this time, if you were a black person and you wanted to register to vote, sometimes they would print your name and address in the newspaper. But guess what Mrs. Hamer did? She sat down with that mic around her neck, and she leaned in and she began speaking. And she said, my name is Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer, and I live at 626 East Lafayette Street, Ruleville, Mississippi. Y'all, Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer gave her full physical address on national television. On national television, this woman who lived and grew up in the most dangerous state in the country gave her full physical address on national television. Honey, I don't care how big and bad a lot of these people, these so-called wannabes today claim they so big, bad, and bold. Ain't nothing better than a female who's willing to sit there, stand there, right there in the face of her own enemy. Of white men who are lynching her loved ones, lynching her friends, killing them, shooting them, bombing them, and sat there and said her full physical address right there on national television, baby. You want me? Come get me. You ain't got to go looking and hunting and hiding for me, baby. I'm going to tell you where I at and where I reside. I can't say nothing else about it. But ladies and gentlemen, that was my top 10 fine women of the civil rights movement. I hope you all have enjoyed this video, and I hope it has educated you some. Thank you all so much again for tuning in. Please like and subscribe below. Again, if you have any video ideas, please shoot them in the comment section below. Again, thank you all so much. Please be sure to stay up, stay blessed, and stay black.